a great HC win is always big over an in-state opponent. Those always have a little bit extra. Did a really nice sudden change, holding them to a field goal, and I just thought we made plays. Phenomenal night. His game, and so I thought we did the things that we needed to do. We knew it was going to be a little bit of a feast or famine night, regardless of who was playing at quarterback. They're so aggressive. There's so many people in and around the box. They do such a good job with their scheme of creating disruptive plays. We just had to stay patient, and I think we were able to do explosive pass for the touchdown. We thought converting the interception into 7 points as opposed to 3 was really important as well. And I thought we did a nice job with field position. I thought 3 times we were backed up. Moving forward, offense assignment of the week were Jacob Monk on offense and Jordan Waters kind of split it on offense. ACC linebacker. Looking ahead at Florida State, obviously not just a team but a program. You could see the energy and passion that they play the game with. Offensively, this is an extremely part of 2 years now. He knows exactly what he wants to do in that system. He's managing it really well. You can see him have complete command of the offense, not only as a quarterback but also as a leader. It's really impressive to see. They've got skill to burn all over the place. 2 really talented wide receivers and he can make it through 4 or 5 other guys, and you don't see any drop off at all. They're really talented at the wide receiver position. Jaheim Bell is a kid that I'm really familiar with from his time at South Carolina. They play offensive line, has played a ton of football, and so this is a Duke really disruptive. Are all over the field. And Deloach is a big-time playmaker. Every throw and really try to make the game very difficult for you. And so it's a complete team. We're going to be down there on their homecoming at night under the lights in Tallahassee. Looking forward to, and we'll get our guys ready to questions.
You mentioned Dwayne Carter elevating his game. He was already a productive and respected guy here, of course. Where do you see him? Where is he better?
Yeah, I just think the last 3 weeks he probably has gotten completely healthy. You know, he had some things in the offseason. He had some nicks in camp, and yeah, I think he maybe would even tell you the first handful of games he wasn't as disruptive or active as he would have liked to have been. And I think the last 2-3 games, I think he's now healthy and playing like. I think he's making plays in the run game. He's disrupting blocks. I think in the throw game, he's active. He's getting in the quarterback pocket area. He's rushing the passer well. And so I just think he's really taken the next step that we hoped he would.
Mike, after playing a team that doesn't beat itself,
I don't really. For winning football, that we try to go out there and execute. If that means we don't beat ourselves, then maybe that's what we do. I don't know.
Mike, I apologize for the repetitiveness of this, but being on this stage again, do you feel better about where this team is handling that? The Notre Dame game?
Yeah, I'll give you the same answer I keep giving you. Again, it's better. A different type of challenge, right? There's the challenge of being on a whole different type of atmosphere and environment and level of emotions that you've got to push through. And so I think our team is now used to going through a week where they're talking about the game that we're going to play. I think they're used to having the idea of what a spotlight game is. But, you know, we haven't done this on the road yet, and so we'll have to go do that, and that'll be a new challenge for us to kind of rise up to.
What does that involve? Does that involve?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we're anticipating it being a very loud, hostile environment, and so as we're prepared and ready for that, I think is really important.
Mike, with Henry, what did you see or like most on the?
No, I thought he had good composure back there. I don't think he panicked. I thought he kept his eyes. Calhoun was a big-time throw. I thought he made a couple other really. You know, then there were a handful, I'm sure, of a first-time start, and so I think obviously getting that composure and getting that under his belt now, he's one game further along from a maturity standpoint, which will pay huge dividends, I think, for him moving forward.
You speak to Jeremiah Hazley, just camp on side end.
Yeah, I think it speaks on so many levels. I think it speaks to the character of our team. You know, Jeremiah comes in and he wants to be the starting middle linebacker direction, and so here's an opportunity and a potential spot for you to be more of an impact player this year. I know it's like going to and you know, they don't blink. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And so he flips over. He learns. You know, he played tight end in high school, so but you know, he certainly didn't know anything about the offense, the cadence, the snap count. As the middle line. Amount of work ethic and time and devotion to do that, and then to practice at a level that out there and play at a high level, and he did that. And so yeah, I think it's a huge testimony to who he is and really who these guys from our locker room.
And go over the interception.
Yeah, you know, it was what happened was they didn't quite get the coverage set, and so I think at the end of the day, Jordan probably read the coverage right and snapped the route off. I think Henry set, and so he kind of had a vision of it going in. So I think I understood what Henry saw, and I also ended that way.
Mike, when you look at the growth of the secondary, right, even from this time last year to this year, it's now one of the best units in the country. What do you attribute to that growth?
I mean, I think it's a couple things. I think, one, obviously it's 1 year further along in our system. I think the way we play coverage is just a little bit different, and so to get to do and go out there and be able to be confident and play fast takes a little bit of time, and I think that's a part of it. I think we had some young guys last year playing for the first time. Was last year. I think he's doing it again at an even higher level this year. Josh Pickett has done the same, and then, we continue to talk about the pieces that were added, and I think the piece of diversity. Lewis, you flip Terry Moore over. This versatile group that you can try to utilize in the ways that allow them to have it.
The national spotlight games for Clemson. Now this one, where you guys are at this point of the season, how much are you guys really embracing this challenge compared to the previous ones you've had this season?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit different because the Clemson game was the opener, right? And so there wasn't a ton of for the first time trying to establish themselves, and as big as the a primetime game between two unbeaten teams in the ACC, and at the end, and that's something that's critical, and that's not lost on anybody in our locker room. And so, that's a big piece of it. And so it's an opportunity.
If we could segue back to the defense for a moment, you're fourth in the country in scoring defense, under 10 points a game. If you spoke about the secondary guys, could you speak about the rest of the team and also how Coach Santucci's doing?
Yeah, I think Coach Santucci's doing really well. I appreciate you asking. I think our defensive staff is elite. I think every single guy in that development of that 2 years ago to last year to this year would probably be one of the most impressive turnarounds you probably. Credit to all of those guys, and it's a credit to the kids. And I think a group of kids that have bought into 11 guys playing together as one. I think they understand how to play together. They feed off of each other. There's a ton of energy and excitement when those guys play. You don't see anybody really care about who gets to make the plays. They just have fun when the plays are made. People in really talented, and I think that's the part of it that maybe the outside world just seems to struggle with. Talented football players, and I think maybe people are just starting to take notice and see that.
Mike, wide receivers who are 6'5", 6'6", who can run and catch are pretty rare. Florida State's got a couple of them. You can't really practice against that kind of height. What's the key? I'm thinking particularly of Wilson. What's the key to controlling those guys?
Yeah, I mean, just one is got to get your body in the great position, and you got to know that the route's not over till the ball's on the ground. And I think there's just competitive nature. He's never out of a play. You can be on some receivers, you can be in great coverage, and you can know that there's probably not a window to throw them the football. With these guys, you can be in phenomenal coverage, and there's still a window to throw them the football, and so you've got to compete really start to finish until the ball's on the ground. And I think it's just a mentality, and how we play the ball, how we finish on the route is going to obviously be critical, because they're certainly going to throw the ball when maybe you would see him as covered, because they have guys that have the ability to elevate and go make plays and make contested catches.
It feels like this may tie into that a little bit as well, but like some of those wide receivers, I mean, their like average depth of target is like the equivalent of the biggest plays you all will allow in the passing game, especially like that 20-yard middle of the field. What do you see offensively that they're able to do so well to execute on those bigger plays?
Yeah, I just think it's their ability to make contested catches. You know, I think they do a good job with their scheme for sure, and I think they create ways to get guys into one-on-one matchups, and that's something Mike Norvell does a really good job, and their offensive staff does a really good job with. And then those kids are really, really capable of climbing the ladder and making some big-time, impressive, athletic, contested catches, and that's the challenge, right? And that's the challenge that these guys present. And so, yeah, we haven't given up a ton of them. They've made an awful lot of them, and so probably will play a huge role in the success in the game one way or the other. I think whatever team is able to win that battle the most, you know, they're certainly going to make some. We're certainly going to make some. I think whoever makes it the most is probably the team that has the most success Saturday.
You have the next man up mentality. Josh mentioned the tight end. Have you got other young guys that you felt like have been stepping up that may not have been seen as much by us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think everybody. Like, you look at Brian Parker steps into the Notre Dame game and has to start at left tackle, and nobody notices. You look at what Hazley does. You know, even a kid like Josh Pickett, who, you know, isn't necessarily in the rotation, and then Miles Jones goes down and he has to step in, and all of a sudden he's got to play at a high level. You know, guys have gone down since we've been here, and you just, I don't know, you have two thoughts in this game. Like, you can complain about the injuries, you can cry about the injuries, you can make a big deal about the injuries, or you can just understand that there's a game Saturday that you have to play, and someone's got to go on the field and play it. And I think our kids have bought into that mentality. And so, yeah, take anybody on our two deep, and I think right now they're doing the things that they need to do. It's a shame that we're not able to play more of them. You know, it's a competitive room. Take a kid like Jalen Coleman. He's not a young kid, but I mean, you come out and watch him practice. He's practicing extremely hard every day, and we continue to try to talk about how can we get him some carries. And then, you know, Jordan Waters averages 9.8 yards a carry, and so how do you take him off the field? And so it's you know, it's what you get when you get a competitive program, and it's why character and culture is so important, because it allows those next guys to just feed off of each other and keep going, and knowing that at some point their number's going to get called.
It seems like that's developed more hunger. In the past, you saw some guys come in, not under you, that maybe weren't quite ready for the moment. But these guys seem to relish that. They seem hungry. They want to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had to spend 8 months with Feely and then get to the season, like, you would want to play too.
Yeah.
But no, there's a confidence in the way we go about our preparation. There's a confidence in our locker room right now. I think the guys feel that they're playing football at a really good level, and that's not just the guys that are out on the field. That's even some of the guys who aren't getting their opportunities. And so I don't think there's anybody in our locker room that doesn't want their name called or to be put in that spot where they can go out and shine. And I think you see it even with, like, guys on special teams stepping up and making plays. You know, a kid like Cam Bergeron, you know, at some point his number is going to get called, and he's going to go out there on the defense, and he's going to play at a really high level. And right now his role is being a dynamic player on special teams, and he does that every single week. And so, yeah, I think you got a lot of that in our program right now.
Coach, speaking of players stepping up, I wanted to ask a question about Henry Beeland. You know, if he ends up starting this Saturday at Florida State, what did you learn from him and his first start against NC State, and what he can apply to that if he's put in another pressure situation like that against the Seminoles?
Yeah, I think it's probably more what he learned. I think it's more, you know, we got a ton of confidence in him. We know who Henry is. We know that he can function and operate in this offense at a really high level. We believe in him. We believe in what he's capable of doing. I don't think that I don't think we were looking to figure that out. I think it's when you go out there and you go through it for the first time, the speed of the game, the bullets flying at you, how fast things are moving, having to operate with a play clock, and just what it all really truly feels like to start an ACC football game. You just can't simulate that, and that's why any level of angst that went into the game was just around first start, right? And it was the same thing with Riley last year. It was no different. Like, first start, like, what is it going to be like first time? So now I think what he learned is how the game operates, the speed of the game, how it all really feels, and I think it'll allow him to slow down. And I think he'll be able to play a little bit more like he's capable of more consistently. Again, I think there were some ups and downs in how he played. I think you'll see a lot more ups the next time he goes out there because he'll be a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable in himself.
I know you thought really highly of Tyler when he came here, but has he exceeded what you thought he could be through half a season?
I think Tyler's phenomenal. I think he's as good of a coach as there is in America. And so I don't know that you could exceed those expectations. I think the performance of our defense, I don't know that I would have sat here and told you, I bet we're not giving up 10 points a game midway through the season. I don't think I would have called that. And so maybe the performance of the group is exceeding expectations, and it's just a testimony to everybody in that room. But I've hired Tyler, 4 different schools now. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way, but
No, I know.
I don't know that I could have more confidence in a coach than I do in him. And so I certainly anticipated him doing this at a really high level. And so, I don't know that he exceeded them, but certainly I think our overall results, would have been hard to predict it would look like this.
Did he call A&M's defense last year? I know he was in the coordinator role, so.
I don't believe so, no. I think DJ Durkin called the defense. I think this is his first time calling defenses, yeah. He might have to retire at the end of the season like I did. First time head coach, step off at the right time. First time play caller, step out at the right time. It's part of, maybe that's one of the things I'll have to teach him.
With Kevin John's connection to Norvell, is there anything that, like Coach Santucci can glean from Coach John's looking ahead to Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know. I think every offense kind of changes, with personnel, with people over time. And so, I'm sure there's some familiarity that we have with their system because there is a little bit of crossover. I'm sure they have the same with us. I've known Coach Fuller for a long time. He knows us. So there's a little bit of that, but I just think things evolve and change so much over time that I don't know how much that really truly impacts how the game will play Saturday.
Not to get too nebulous with this type of question, but when you're recruiting players, obviously people have been able to step up in these big situations. They haven't really been afraid of that spotlight. Is that something that you see inherently in someone when you recruit them, or is that something that you help bring out during the off season when you coach them up?
Probably a little bit of both, but certainly something that I think you try to develop. I think people throw that word culture around all the time, and it can mean so many different things. But I think one of the things that we spend an awful lot of time around here is mindset, right? And learning how to compete, learning how to chase greatness, learning how to look in the mirror every day and figure out how I can take a little bit and become better in every aspect of my life. I think that's something we spend a lot of time with in this program, just developing people. And for some reason that all of a sudden makes us this developmental program, and I don't mean it like that. I just think we try to improve kids. We get kids at 18 and they leave us at 22, and I think part of our responsibility as college coaches is to improve them in every aspect of their life while they're with us, and that's something that we are very intentional about. And so part of it obviously is getting the right kids, right? If you get the wrong kids, then none of that comes to any type of fruition. So you got to get the right kids, and fortunately we inherited a lot of kids who were the right kids, and that's a testament to Coach Cutt and the job he did. But we are very intentional, I think, with how we develop that mindset through our off-season program and just what we do.